So I'd like to talk to you today about what we call the threshold of reactivity. Now, this is not something I came up with. In fact, it's something I came across a website of another chiropractor, Dr. Tim O'Shea in California. And I do direct my patients to that website quite often because it's got a wealth of information about how to lead a healthier life. And I use that particular term in here often because it helps people understand better why they're having chronic health pain issues. Now, oftentimes people come into the office because of some kind of a trauma. And it's easy for them to understand why they're having a health problem because of a fall or a car accident. That's pretty easy to pick up. It becomes more of a challenge, however, when they're having health issues that kind of come and go, and their body seems to have issues only once in a while. Those are chronic stresses. And the thing is, oftentimes it's because of nervous system stresses that your body has trouble adapting to. And that's another term we use in the office quite often, adaptation. Our bodies have this really cool ability to adapt to all kinds of different stresses, whether they're internal and external. And they come in different forms. I already mentioned a couple: of fall, an auto accident. There could be a trauma at birth, learning how to walk and falling down, riding your bike for the first time and falling down. Those are all easily understandable examples of a physical trauma. But we don't always think about other kinds of stresses in trauma. There can be a chemical stress that we're all subject to, whether, again, it's external or internal. Eating food that doesn't support your body well. Taking medications, again, for the symptoms that oftentimes flare up as a result. There can also be mental and emotional stresses. We all have different kinds of stresses in our life, whether it's school stresses or relationships or work-related issues. We're all subject to those. The body has a wonderful ability to adapt to those stresses as long as there's not too much stress on the nervous system. And so getting back to the term threshold of reactivity, let's just say the threshold's right up here. We want to experience health down here. This means that there's not too many stresses going on that our body can't handle. But when you start mounting those stresses up one on another and it gets closer and closer to that threshold and it finally peaks over the top, that's oftentimes when people start noticing these chronic health issues, whether it's a runny nose or a headache or flu, you name it. The problem is oftentimes people will try to squish those symptoms by taking some kind of a medication. And oftentimes it works quite well of getting you just below that threshold so you don't feel the symptoms. The problem is you're sitting right under that threshold, and oftentimes it doesn't take too much to put you right back over the top. Now, in the chiropractic office, one of the main issues we're looking for is a healthy nervous system. As I said, everything you experience in life is filtered through your nervous system. So if there's any kind of stress on your nervous system, it's going to make it tough for your body to adapt. So the biggest thing you want to do is make sure your nervous system is functioning to its peak, and that's getting your spine adjusted or getting checked at least on a regular basis. If there's interference and your chiropractor finds there's a problem, you make an adjustment, you increase the body's ability to adapt, and you're going to experience health to a greater extent. However, if you are relying on those medications to keep you just below that threshold, or if you're not taking care of all the other issues that you need to, that keep you well below that threshold, then you're going to have problems. Now let me elaborate a little bit. That includes things like making sure that you get the proper amount of sleep that you should. Our bodies need to regenerate on a regular basis. You need to have exercise on a regular basis. We were built to move, not to sit on our rear ends all the time in front of the TV or computer. We need to get up and get out there and move. We need to support our body with really good food. Food that's as close to its natural state as possible. All the processed foods that we're subject to bring us higher and higher and closer to that threshold. There are other issues, in fact, as well that we have to take care of. The thing is, we have control over those. You have control. You have to learn how to take responsibility for your health. So you got to make sure that you're getting the exercise that you should. You got to make sure that you're getting the rest that you should. Eat better food, and surround yourself with people that will help support you with a positive, a healthy mental attitude. That makes a big difference as well. Those are all important factors because they'll lower you or get you farther below that threshold so that you can be experiencing health to a greater extent. Now here's the problem. All too often people don't consider those things. You can be getting your spine checked, and that's great, and that's the most important thing. But if you're not doing all of those other things, it's not going to be quite as effective. So I want you to take those things into account and make sure that you're doing those so that you can get the most out of your chiropractic adjustment. Now, if any of that makes sense to you, Good. I'm trying to keep things as simple as I can. I want you to take time to go to Dr. O'Shea's website. It's called thedoctorwithin.com. There's a wealth of information on that website. I've sent patients to that website many times because it helps them understand about the things that we've talked over and even more. The last thing I want to talk to you about is how long should you wait before you address these chronic health issues? Should you wait until you're right below the threshold, or should you do what you can to be keeping it from getting there in the first place? In our office, we like to see kids in here because they respond so incredibly well to chiropractic. Not only that, it helps keep them from getting too close to that threshold in the first place. So my question to you might be, how long are you going to wait before you get your kids checked? Just because they don't have any outward signs or symptoms doesn't mean that they're that threshold, or they're getting closer and closer to that threshold. Get their little nervous systems checked. If they need adjusted, great, they can get adjusted, and they can keep them well below that threshold, and they can be experiencing life the way they're supposed to. Also teach them about the other factors. Make sure they're getting the exercise, getting the rest. They're getting supported with really good nutrition and the positive mental attitudes that we all need to see, because way too often we're exposed to all the negative stuff that really compounds the stresses. It doesn't have to be that way. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is your health is your responsibility. Your chiropractor is there to teach you what you can do to keep your spine and nervous system healthy. And I would certainly hope you'll take this information and utilize it not only for your family, but for someone that you might have in your circle of influence that's having problems. Chiropractic could ultimately change their lives. And that may sound corny, but it's the truth. We get to see it in our office every day. And I would certainly hope it's something that you would take to heart and that you would make available for your friends and family.